right, for our fifth video, just on this key truth from the Apostles' Creed, I believe in God the Father Almighty, maker of heaven and earth, that He is the Creator, the one who made me, all that I have, my mind, my abilities, all that I see. We come to this important question. From the Genesis account in the Bible, we see God create everything mature. How would that explain that the earth, moon, sun, stars, and all creation would seem older than they actually are as measured by things like radiometric dating? Have a moment and talk about that with your family. How is it if the scriptures say that the moon and sun actually were created on day 4, and that would be some 6,000 to 10,000 years ago, as far as we understand, and counting up some of the genealogies in the Bible, or assuming maybe there are some genealogies or generations that are missing? How would the way that God created explain why the sun and moon and stars, or even some of the things that we find in the earth and test with radiometric dating or even carbon dating, could seem to be older than they actually are? As you consider that question here, consider the manner in which God created the earth, the universe, especially in the celestial bodies. Genesis 1:14 to 18. Moses writes, God said, "Let there be lights in the expanse of the sky to distinguish between the day and the night, and let them be signs to mark the seasons and days and years. And let them serve as lights in the expanse of the sky to shine upon the earth." And it was so. God made 2 great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. And He made the stars as well. God set these lights in the expanse of the sky to shine upon the earth, to preside over the day and the night, and to separate the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good. As you consider, how is it in the creating that God has shared with us His eyewitness account to us, that this idea that we see many things with age in a mature sense can conform to or go in line with a young earth, young universe mindset? I'm going to give you an illustration because this is one of those more difficult questions. But again, we can see how the scriptures are true in even what we observe today, not in conflict with the modern mindset. And we'll get to the heart of why today many scientists would rule out this idea of God and the Genesis account. But if you and I were to go into the Garden of Eden, let's say in Genesis chapter 3, after the fall into sin took place, and we were to look around, and we were to see Adam and Eve in the garden, and we're to see a tree there, and we're to see mountains in the distance. If we were to go on, let's say, let's say day 9, and maybe it wasn't even after the fall. That's kind of doesn't have any consequence here. But let's say everything was created, God rested day 7, and we walked into the Garden of Eden day 9. What would we see? We would see Adam and Eve, full grown, right? Mature adults. And if we were to bring Bill Nye, the science guy, in with us to talk about what he observed, just going from a scientific standpoint, he would see Adam and Eve, mature adults. And how old would they be? Well, if it's day 9, we would say, as a Christian standpoint, Genesis standpoint, we'd say that Adam and Eve are 3 days old, right? It's day 9, so they were created day 6, 7, 8, 9. Of course, Bill Nye, the science guy, would say, no, they got to at least be 25 years old, 30 years old, somewhere around there, right? Because they're mature adults. But from the Genesis account, we recognize that God created them mature. So we go on over to a tree in the Garden of Eden, not the tree of knowledge of good and evil or the tree of life. We cut down, let's say it looks like a California redwood in the garden. And we count up the rings there, and we count over 300 rings. How old would that tree be? Well, it would look like 300 years old, right? And that's what Bill Nye, the science guy, would say. But what would we know? We know that vegetation was created on day 3, right? So that would have been 6 days ago. We would say this tree, as mature as it is only 6 days old. And we'd be laughed at, wouldn't we? Then let's say we would go to a mountain and let's cut it in half, and we are able to see the layers that are there. Bill Nye, the science guy, would kind of look at the different layers and have these different eras in which he would understand each layer and the sediment and how it formed, right? We would say, well, God brought about the land on day 2. And we would say, so that was only 7 days ago. He would say that these are hundreds of thousands, even maybe millions of years old. Now, we would recognize the two different world perspectives. Bill Nye would be working with a naturalistic viewpoint on how everything came to be. What we observe in the present doesn't change very quickly, and we just interpret the past all the way back, gauging what we believe to be change and how long it must take. And notice the years keep creeping. It used to just be 4 billion years. Now the universe 20 billion years, and it keeps expanding. From a biblical standpoint, we're not going with our present understanding of natural laws. We're going with a revealed understanding by what we believe to be God's eyewitness account. So we have revealed knowledge versus observational knowledge in the present. Can you see the differences? It's not like we have different evidence that we're pointing out. We have the same evidence. It's the interpretation of the evidence that is causing two completely different worldviews. We believe God created all that we see out of nothing, and he made it mature, whether Adam and Eve, trees, mountains, or the moon. Scientists rule out God because you can't test God in some laboratory. You can't prove that he exists in some laboratory. So they have to and feel obligated to explain everything naturally, since supernatural things cannot take place. And that really explains everything. That's why radiometric dating is going to be based on the assumption that things have always decayed at a certain rate. That would be more carbon dating. Radiometric dating, that different material, the different elements all degrade, if you will, differently. And so that's one of the answers to the question that we just asked. Why is it that people and scientists have a different way of dating things, which is not in harmony with Genesis 1? But hopefully you had a good discussion as well, or can pause and discuss these things more. For more information, again, I would turn your attention over to answersingenesis.org.